All right. My name is Kurt Erskine. I'm the acting United States Attorney in the U.S. Attorney's Office. I am joined by Assistant Special Agent in Charge, Chris McRae, who will also be making some comments. I'm going to make some comments, and then he'll make some comments, and then if you have some questions, we can take a couple of questions limitedly. So we are here today because Clayton County Sheriff Victor Hill has been indicted by a federal grand jury on 4 separate civil rights charges related to him ordering his employees to use excessive force against 4 pretrial detainees. The indictment alleges specifically that without justification, Hill ordered his employees to strap the detainees into a restraint chair and keep them there for hours in violation of their constitutional rights. The indictment further alleges that Hill deprived the detainees of their due process rights because the use of such force was unreasonable, unnecessary, and amounted to punishment. In so doing, Sheriff Hill allegedly caused the detainees both pain and bodily injury. Now, the vast majority of law enforcement officers in this country serve bravely, with honor and professionally at all times. But when someone doesn't, and they abuse their power, they must be held accountable. The Constitution also prohibits the unnecessary use of force. In this particular case, without justification, Sheriff Hill allegedly ordered 4 detainees in his care to be strapped into a restraint chair in violation of those constitutional mandates and in violation of Clayton County Sheriff's Office policy on the use of the restraint chair. In so doing, he caused injury and pain to the individuals under his care at that particular time. Sheriff Hill's actions, as alleged by the grand jury, therefore deprived the citizens that he was sworn to protect of their due process rights, of their constitutional rights. He chose to administer punishment as opposed to using the chair appropriately, as alleged by the grand jury. Sheriff Hill's abuse of power not only harmed the victims as I've described, but they erode the trust that the community places in law enforcement and the work that it does. We want to thank the FBI for their diligent investigation in this case and for all of their work. We want to thank the grand jury for its attention in this particular case. At this point, I will turn it over to ASAC, Chris McRae, for a few words.
Thank you, sir, and thank you very much for being here. Law enforcement officers and other officials receive certain powers from the government so they can defend the rights of the people and prevent wrongdoing. When individuals working in an official capacity violate the trust of their communities by abusing that power, they undermine the hard work of all officials. Fortunately, the vast majority of officers and officials uphold and obey the law. The very few who illegally manipulate others using their official capacity will be caught and tried like any other criminal. Badges and guns don't come with the authority to ignore the Constitution. They come with the responsibility to protect it from anyone who would violate it, especially another public servant. The FBI Civil Rights Program dedicates a significant amount of time of its efforts to investigating police misconduct and other crimes committed by individuals exploiting their government-granted powers. The FBI is committed to restoring trust in law enforcement by holding those accountable who abuse their privileges and abandon their responsibilities. I also would like to acknowledge the United States Attorney's Office, our agents, task force officers, analysts, and professional staff, and thank them for their hard work on this investigation. Thank you.
Okay, I'll take a couple of questions if you have questions.
The indictment lists 4 victims. It says injuries. Is there any reason to believe there's more than 4 victims? And can you detail what injuries are as described in the indictment?
I can only speak to what's in the indictment. So in the indictment is alleged that 4 detainees were held at the Clayton County Jail in 2020, and that they were strapped into a restraint chair unnecessarily. It was done so in a way that violated not only constitutional principles, but violated Clayton County policy in so doing. As a result of being strapped into the chair, often for hours at a time, they suffered pain and bodily injury as a consequence.
Are you able to say if there's a continuing investigation into the jail to see if this has happened before, or is it fair? Are you able to say if it is still an open investigation?
It remains an open investigation. If someone believes that they have been a victim in this particular case, they are encouraged to reach out to the FBI and contact them. I can only speak to what's in the indictment and what the grand jury has alleged in this particular case. Yes, ma'am.
Why did you all start this investigation and what prompted you to start it?
I can't speak to that.
By him bogging out, is there any concern that this might continue?
I really can't speak to that. The magistrate judge has made that determination in this particular case.
Is the chair still in operation and usage?
I can't speak to that.
Can you clarify if all of the defendants were in the jail at the same time or just two of them as listed in the indictment?
I believe the two of them were in the Clayton County Jail at the same time, and the other two were not in the jail at the exact same time. All of the actions that that the grand jury has passed on, though, happened in 2020.
Sir, with the part of the jail where the chair was, is there video surveillance of this? And if so, is there also audio or just visuals?
Again, that's not something that's in the indictment that I can speak to.
Can you talk about the conditions of bond? Generally, when a person bonds out after being indicted on these charges, they're not allowed to possess a firearm. Obviously, Sheriff Hill is a post-certified police officer. Is it unusual in cases like this that a law enforcement officer is allowed to keep his firearm?
In this particular case, the judge has set particular standards, bond standards, for Sheriff Hill on his possession of the weapon. He's limited, I believe, to one weapon. Must be for a law enforcement purpose, and so he's considered those and made a determination. In this limited case, he's allowed to keep his one firearm.
Not to get ahead of ourselves, but with these felony charges as described, if convicted, would that stop him from being a sheriff in the state?
I can't speak to that. You know, the post folks ultimately have to make that determination as a law enforcement officer. Of course, Sheriff Hill is an elected official, and so that's something that potentially the governor could decide.
Can you timeline
Whether or not the FBI took the chair from the jail last summer?
That's not something I can speak to.
timeline? What happens next and when?
So at this point, we're going. He's obviously indicted. He's on bond. We're going to begin the pretrial process. So it will be assigned or has been assigned to a district court judge and a magistrate judge. They will hear any pretrial motions that are made on behalf of the parties, and then at some point in the future it will go and be assigned for trial in front of a district court judge. I believe Judge Ross was assigned in this particular case, and Magistrate Judge Bly were assigned.
Sir, can you talk about the potential penalties if there is a conviction, what it could be based on?
So if there is a conviction that is found beyond a reasonable doubt, because pain and bodily injury has been alleged in this particular case, it is a felony violation. There are 4 separate civil rights felonies that have been alleged by the grand jury. Each of those, if I'm not mistaken, carries the maximum sentence of 10 years imprisonment. There is, if bodily injury is not found, that it will be a misdemeanor with a potential maximum term of imprisonment for 1 year.
So it could actually be, the felony charges now could be reduced at some point during pretrial?
No. That's a determination that's made by the jury after hearing all of the evidence. But because bodily injury has been alleged, it's a maximum of 10 years in jail. Am I correct on that? So 10-year statutory max because it's a felony.
That's correct.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure it's a 10-year statutory max.
Misdemeanor is 1 year per charge.
Correct. That's right. And and the judge has discretion to do whatever she sees fit as far as the sentencing goes. Under the 3553A factors, she can weigh the history and background of the defendant and the nature and seriousness of the charges and fashion the sentence within those parameters.
And what is the specific name or description of the charges? Can you tell us a little bit more about how these kind of civil rights violations work, what the law is around that?
Okay, can you be more specific in your question?
Yeah. So what is specifically is Sheriff Hill charged?
He is charged with the deprivation of someone's constitutional civil rights, and plainly, what he's charged with is using unnecessary, unreasonable force against somebody who was in his custody and control. That violates the Due Process Clause of the Constitution, but essentially he used grand jury has alleged that he used the chair as a form of punishment, which thereby violated the due process rights of the detainees in the Clayton County Jail. Hopefully that helps. One more question. All right.
No more.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
How do you start? Name Chris McRae.
Yeah, it's M-A-C-R-A-E.
Give an AC.
Yep, just the capital M, that's it. No more capitals, yeah. M-A-C-R-A-E, Christopher, the first name.
And that's the second speaker?
Yes.
And
Yep.
what's his title?
He's the Assistant Special Agent in Charge. He runs our criminal branch.
How do you spell his last name, I'm sorry?
M-A, capital M-A-C-R-A-E.
What?
E-R-S-K-I-N-E.
I'll send the release out as soon as I go back upstairs. I posted it to the website. The indictment's attached to the website. So just open it up and it's down there. And the unsealing.